All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the first planning committee meeting of the fiscal year. I forgot how to do this. It's been a minute. Yeah, my name's Andrew Blumenthal. Happy to be the chairman of the planning committee of the Planning Commission's Planning Committee. We are meeting today, September 16th, 2025, in room 280 of the Charlotte Mecklenburg Government Center. This meeting is being streamed online via the planning department's YouTube page as well, correct? If you need to follow along online. Let's go ahead and get started with our introductions. Or do I need to make a motion to change the agenda before or after introductions? Okay, let's go ahead and get our introductions, after which we're going to shuffle this agenda around a little bit. We'll get started with my fellow planning commissioners, starting with Commissioner Neely to my left.
Shauna Neely, Planning Commission.
Rebecca Wilden, Planning Commission.
Will Russell, Planning Commission.
Clayton Seeley, Planning Commission.
Rick Winiker, Planning Commission.
Terry Lanstow, Planning Commission.
And Zania, starting with you, staff, please, around the dais.
Zania Duhaney, planning staff.
Kathy Cornett, planning staff.
Jason Pauling, Planning Staff.
Aaron Henson, planning staff.
Yeah, we'll go around the wall as well, please.
Catherine Mahoney, planning staff.
All right, thank you all very much. As I mentioned, we have a couple of guests this evening with the time requirement, so we're going to shift around. We'll bump mandatory referrals, as well as I just realized we need to add the vice chair election. So we will move that to the end of the meeting in order to allow Larry Shaheen, our esteemed guest, to present. Larry, I'll let you introduce yourself. Ned, are you presenting with Larry as well? Oh, yeah. All right. So we have Larry Shaheen, Ned Curran. They will be able to better introduce themselves than I ever could for a transportation update, which I'm sure we are all aware of and eager to learn more. Gentlemen, thank you again for coming, and I will let you take it from here.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. My name is Larry Shaheen. I'm joined by the legendary Ned Curran, former CEO of Bissell Companies, and we have been part of the implementation team that was put together to help 2.5 years ago advance Charlotte's transportation plan. I don't need to go over the history with this group. You all are very well aware of everything that's gone on, but just by way of introduction, my role and Mr. Curran's role were to be assisters with the group of managers who began meeting 2.5 years ago to come up with a plan that would be able to go to Raleigh, get approval, come back, and pass by referendum. So at the time, the towns could not agree on how the plan was to be created, and there was a lot of disjointed movement between the city, the county, and the 6 municipalities. With Mr. Curran's help and his incredible work, leadership, leading and moderating the group, by the time we were done, over 93% of the local elected officials voiced their approval for the product that was then sent to Raleigh. That product was created here locally. Starting in December of 2023, that product was the PAVE Act. It was written locally, and it was written by the managers. And those managers, in conjunction with all of their elected officials, worked together collaboratively to come up with a product that you now see before you today. So I want to go through this slide, and I want to go through the slide deck very quickly, and then I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Curran to talk about the historic nature of what we're dealing with here today and why it's so important that we think that the community should be a part of this. But really just want to thank all of you for your service and all of your time. And I want everyone here to know that we wouldn't be here today without a lot of the work that this group has done. Y'all have set the stage for the reality that we are sitting in right now. So we could not be more grateful to y'all's work and y'all's time and what you have done to help get us to this point, especially staff. Because without y'all's work showing that this was a reality and that we could pay for this with local sales tax dollars, we wouldn't be here. So I really want to commend staff for all of their work and for everything that's been done to this point. So if you'll go to the next slide. So just so that everyone has kind of an understanding on the timeline, we are now just past this primary day. So where we're going to be now is that the county has already placed the referendum on the ballot. It will be on the ballot on November 4th. Absentee ballots will be mailed October 3rd. Final day for voter registration is October 10th. And then from October 16th to November 1st is early voting. Tonight will be the last vote by the county to do three things. They will stand up the authority. They will hold the authority's articles of incorporations and approval, but in abeyance until the approval of the referendum. And then they will approve the memorandum of understanding that will walk through the appointment process that will at that point be able to enable the towns and the county and the city to be able to have a coordinated process so that appointments can be made in time to meet the statutory requirements of the bill to report out information to Raleigh to be able to receive money starting as early as late next year. So if you'll go to the next slide. So here is a very basic overview. There's a lot more detail to this, but this is just a very basic overview. The 1% sales tax is estimated to generate roughly $19.5 billion over 30 years. But it's important to remember, this doesn't expire. This is an ongoing revenue source that will enable the local authority as well as the towns to address their transportation needs. And that's important. We're going to talk about that from a budgetary standpoint in a minute. The breakdown is $7.74 billion. That's going to go to the towns and the city for roadway systems. And it's important that you look at the definition of the bill and what is roadway systems. There is a lot in there that is not just pavement and lanes. There is a lot of opportunity there to be able to create a safer, more connected city that deals with pedestrian access, that deals with sidewalks, that deals with bike lanes, that deals with every part of any type of roadway system that comes with this type of money. The remaining roughly 11 billion, 12 billion is going to go for rail and bus. And these commitments were reaffirmed by the MTC. Now, it's important to remember that the MTC, as it exists now, will transition under the bill into a new authority. And we'll get to that in a minute. With this funding and with a couple of other things that we're going to need to be working with to massage some Washington issues, there is a potential to pull down an additional $6 billion in federal funds. However, for those of you in staff who know the numbers, we can build the red line, we can build a part of the silver line east or west, and we can do the extension to Pineville for the blue line without needing federal funding. We do not need federal funding for a vast majority of the funding that we'll need to be able to build out the system. So for those who say, oh, well, the things with Washington are a little rocky right now, it doesn't matter. We're going to have the ability to control our own destiny if this community chooses to invest in itself. And then, of course, we talk about this new authority. So the new authority would be created to manage the county's transit system. And on the next slide, what you'll see is how that authority is going to be structured. That locally appointed authority is going to be a 27-member board. Now, for those of you who are transit experts, there's a lot of noise about, oh, it's such a large board. New York's MTA has 52 members. The local authority for New York has 35 members. This is a number that was negotiated by the managers, but it is something that has enabled us to be able to get representation from all across the county. And built into that is additional business representation. The three of those will come from the city's appointment, but the MOU that's being hopefully approved tonight will promise and pledge rider participation, not just through PTAC, which is going to continue on in its current form, but on the authority itself. So that is something that for us was very important from the implementation team. You're going to have the 6 appointments from the county. Each of those from the city and the county are going to have a requirement of 1 small business owner. So it's 1 person that owns a business of less than 100 employees. The towns each get 1. And then there will be 3 appointments, 1 from the General Assembly at the House level, 1 from the General Assembly at the Senate level, and then 1 from the governor. And that is to make sure we're coordinating with our state partners. Now, when you talk about a sales tax, there's a couple of things here that are important. First off, there are a significant amount of exclusions, which include groceries, anything that's paid for with SNAP, anything that's paid for out of the your gas, your energy, your power, anything that's water. Anything that deals with an exclusion currently in the existing legislation is already been pulled out. And in addition, we'll talk about funding in a minute, But when you look at the total revenue source, only 70% of the funds will come from locals. 30% of the amount that's paid for this revenue will come from visitors. We just recorded, just this last year, almost, what was it, 60 billion in visitor spending? We're not capturing any of that. If we're able to capture that, it is a revenue source unlike anything that this city will be able to have seen previously. Now, when you talk about the amount that this is going to mean for each municipality, this is over a 30-year lifespan, okay? Cornelius is going to get about 325 million, Davidson 174, Huntersville 700, Matthews, Mint Hill 300, about Pineville 87. When you break that down over 30 years, you're talking about anywhere between 3 and 7 to 10 to 12 million dollars a year. For some of these towns, their budgets are about 15 to 30 million dollars a year. Okay, they get from the state somewhere in the neighborhood of about $1 million to $2 million in Powell bill funds, and then they have to go beg through the actual MPO process to get the rest. So there's a lot of questions, and a lot of people, well, I don't understand. Why don't we raise the income tax? Why don't we go and make the state pay more? Here's why. The state currently has an annual budget. If you look, you have to look at the budget, you see what it is. It's on a biannual basis. So you have to divide every number by 2. Every year, the state can pay $2 billion to pave roads. $2 billion for new roads. And Mecklenburg County, within our MPO, has a $650 million corridor cap. Now, because of that corridor cap, that means that there is only going to ever be spent, if we were to ever get it all, $650 million in Mecklenburg County. How many people know what the deficit is in roadway infrastructure? I mean, Ned and I know, but how many people know what the roadway deficit number is for Mecklenburg County? 12. We are $12 billion behind in infrastructure. That's just Mecklenburg County. That does not count the state. We will never make this up. Even if they double the sales tax and keep the budget where it is, that's another, what, $2 billion? And what happens then? Corridor cap, $650 million. We will never make that money up. So it's absolutely vital that we look at this from the lens of reality and what we can achieve now. So what can we achieve now with this plan? Not just all of your road funding, better bus. Within half a mile of any type of transit stop, you're talking about 15-minute frequency, which will enhance the ability for folks to ride the bus of up to 450,000 people. We estimate through the Charlotte Regional Business Alliance's economic impact statement that almost 320,000 jobs will have more access to buses, which means they'll be able to move in and out of the city with 30-minute service available within 90% of Mecklenburg County. Currently, how many people can tell me how many bus lines currently run on 15-minute frequencies? 1. We have one line, the Central line. It's the only one. It's the only bus service that currently runs on 15-minute intervals. Now, there's been a lot of talk about in the bill about the guarantee for the red line. Now, that was a negotiated point. To be able to bring the northern towns to the table, they wanted guarantees that the red line was going to be built. Now, people will say, well, we don't understand. Why would anyone do this? Well, because of City of Charlotte staff, y'all's leadership and the leadership of our city council, we now own the rights to that line. That was the one thing that stood in the way of building the red line over the last 30 years. But because the city had the foresight to think, we know we need this, and because Norfolk Southern was in a cash crunch, we were able to actually see that line now be made available, which means that now, for the first time, we'll be able to start moving dirt, not 5 years, not 6 years, 2-3 years, with an estimated completion of at the max 8 years. And because of the way the bill is written, no other line can be completed until that line receives 50% completion. So for North Mecklenburg, it enabled them to be able to make a bargain where they were able to come to the table. When we go to Raleigh, when all of us went to Raleigh to advocate for this, there were lots of other localities that begged for this. But you know what the response was on a bipartisan basis? Go get all of your towns on board, and then we'll talk. That's impossible. So ultimately, at the end of the day, what we are seeing here with this setup is a negotiated plan that went to Raleigh had 93% of the localities support it when it went up there, had 10 votes against it. Out of 170 members, 10 members voted against it. It then came back. We've now seen every municipality, including Matthews, who wasn't exactly thrilled about it, pass the MOU and reaffirm their commitment to seeing this process forward. And that leaves us with the last step, and that's the referendum. So when you deal with the actual campaign, we've got a governance structure that we're going to be running. That's going to be co-chaired by David Longo and Gene Woods. And you've got all of these folks all working on this. And then on your next slide, what you're going to see is how that's working. So there is a very large campaign management framework. You're going to see a lot of events going out. The Yes for MEC is the official name. It's online. You can get to the website. It points you exactly where you need to go. If there's local folks that want to have information sessions, we're holding them all across the county, and we're willing to come and speak to anyone, everyone at any other spot. So this is what we're asking. We are at this point, we are able to confirm that we have raised our budget. So because we've been able to raise our budget, we're going to continue to expand and keep moving forward. But we need ambassadors. We need folks to be supportive. We need to educate the network on transportation infrastructure needs. And we're going to ask you to be ambassadors. Now, we understand that there's differing opinions. We would never expect anyone to be supportive. But when we go to the voters and ask for this, it's important that we remind them, we can't put this back on the ballot next year. We have one shot. The way the legislation is written, we are out of compliance if we do not make reports up to the General Assembly by Jan 1 of 2026. So we are out of compliance at that time, which would require a rewrite. So that means that our shot at getting this is now. And with 153 people moving to this region every year, every day, you think about how large that is and the needs for this, it's absolutely vital that our community look itself in the face and have a serious conversation. Many of you know my political philosophy. Many of you have worked with me over the course of the last several years. I'm here asking you to support a tax increase. Why? Because as I've walked through with you, there's no other way to fund it realistically. We're never going to make up the difference. We're never going to be able to find the needs we need to be able to do it through the property tax, because even if you were to increase the property tax necessary to be able to pay for this, it would almost triple everyone's taxes. And there's no other revenue source available that allows for folks who come and ride our streets and take our rail and use our buses who are not residents to be able to help chip in and pay for that. So when faced with the realities of the situation and the fact that this has been written to be able to be a regional asset, we believe that now is the time for our community to make a decisive decision about moving forward. And this is where I'm going to turn it over to a former DOT chairman to talk through the historic nature of this.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you all for giving us time on what I know is a packed agenda. Ironically, I chaired a transportation committee in this very room that identified the $12 billion shortfall. And it said in the absence of getting fresh investments, the city will lock up in 25 years. Quality of life will diminish significantly. We won't be able to move. Showing my age, that was 2008. And we didn't get that funding. And with school back in session, I don't know how you all feel about moving around right now in the morning or in the afternoon, but it's pretty challenging our quality of life. So to Larry's point, this is an extraordinary opportunity to do something. And I think this body is particularly important because a significant element of standing up this authority is how to associate the land uses that will be around the investments in public transportation. Right. We recognize the growth is going to continue. It didn't seem that long ago. We were saying 65 people move here a day. Then it was 95, and that number is not going to slow down. So we have to figure out how to better manage the growth and associate it with these types of transportation investments. And this is where the work that you all do is so vitally critical. Happy to answer any questions you all may have.
Thank you both very much. How are we on time? 5:22? All right, cool. I just open it up for questions. Let me know. Just raise your hand. Will.
Yeah, Larry, thank you very much for coming out. Just a quick question. So I'm remembering back when they the deal for the 77 north part of Mecklenburg County was done, that there was supposedly a condition that no major road improvements could be made on either side of 77 for 50 years. Does this PAVE Act address that particular negotiation point?
Well, that was when I was chair of the board. And people like Larry were making sure that the red line was carved out. The red line was carved out and some of the other, it was a 21 and a few others we were allowed to make improvements to. So there's no harm done. No fee would be due to the operator for that.
Given that the operator is supportive of this, the operator is actually saying that they want to see this.
I think my question goes back to something that was like kind of mentioned. Y'all threw a ton of information at us and I know that I can literally just like text you, Larry, but so for rail expansion, the expectation is 5 years for Red Line. Is that what y'all said? 5 to 8. And then for the increased rail or increased bus frequency, what do you think?
That could happen as soon as a year, the authority wants to. You can see that the road improvements and the bus improvements could happen immediately.
Okay.
I'm sorry to interrupt, just to clarify. So assuming the referendum passes in November, I should say when it passes in November, we're working with the Department of Revenue on when collections would actually begin. So that timing kind of ties to when collections would begin, whether it be next summer or whether it might fall go into the fall.
Okay. Yeah, because that's something that I've heard from like some people that I'm like trying to convince about like, well, the bus frequency is going to be hard to like increase because we already have a driver shortage, but yeah, but it's good to know that that could happen like almost immediately. Thank you.
On some routes, I mean, there's vehicle acquisitions and rider, operators and things like that.
Anybody else? Questions? Down this end.
Sure.
Go for
Got
it, sir.
some there on that. Just to remind me again, you said that we raised 60 billion in visitor revenue that we haven't tapped before. Is that the number you threw out earlier?
Let me double check that number.
And we only have a 12 billion deficit. So we are again a debtor county to our North Carolina Department of Transportation and North Carolina Department of Revenue.
Let you answer that one. The two they're not quite. So the visitor spending is the total spend, right? So you think about that from a revenue, we don't know how much of that's total, how much of that's taxable, how much of that's spent on taxable items, what that generates. So
Yeah, I didn't say that number. You did. So I was just
Yeah.
trying to get a clarification on that.
let me get that number, make sure that number's right.
So we got 60 billion in revenue from visitors that you said we're going to pull from that's been untapped, I think is the word used on that one.
That's associated with the 30%.
Yeah,
Okay,
6 billion, sorry, 6 billion in tourism spending last year.
6 billion, not 60. Okay.
6 billion in tourism spending.
Okay. 12 billion as our total deficit for that. So in a couple of years, that's a good opportunity for us. But I want just to confirm for my edification here that this referendum does not change the bicycle pedestrian funding limitation that makes it illegal for NCDOT to spend money on standalone bicycle pedestrian projects.
This does not affect NCDOT's budget.
This does not affect the North Carolina General Assembly's elimination of the 25% match for transportation projects that involve transit. Is that correct?
It does not impair current funding regimes.
That's $500,000 flat fee. So again, I've been to 3 sessions, for and against on both sides of the aisle in different areas of the community regarding this. I've spoken to state organizations, local advocacy groups, and news outlets on this. I want people to know this one thing that we can take away in the sentence. I know you have to go and do the next part of your phase for this process. But we are having to tax ourselves in Mecklenburg County because the state has made laws that force us to do this. If North Carolina General Assembly and the leadership over the past 12 years had not been punishing larger communities for their investments in active transportation and transit, we would not be having to ask for our citizens, our visitors, to pay up for this 1 cent sales tax.
I think
That's not a question, but
the $650 million corridor cap that exists currently in the way in the transportation funding structure is, limits the ability to invest in each individual area. So ultimately what winds up interstate highways and all the necessary interstate functions. So even if we were to, like I said, double the income tax and increase spending over the period of time, the amount that we could still only spend in each MPO area is still only going to be $650 million. So the problem we have is that in some areas, that's a lot to spend. In Mecklenburg County, it's not. And the issue we have is that we have a statewide system that's trying to make sure that it spends as much necessary in each area so that it doesn't seem like there's winners and losers. But because we're growing so fast and we have so many in unique transportation needs, the goal here was to allow us to have the opportunity to decide if we want to invest in ourselves. If our community says, no, we're good with the way it's structured, we'll wait for, the money to build up to be able to spend here. The community can most certainly do that, Commissioner Lansdale. But the issue is that for us to be able to get more of the pie would require us to take from other parts of the state. And currently under the way state law is structured, that's not currently able to be done within the funding formula.
The only other thing I'd add is the state DOT department was never conceived to handle virtually every road, every sidewalk in every jurisdiction. It's the larger oversight. And when you think about it, virtually every mode, there's a tax that paid for the sidewalks out here, the road that's out here, whether it's under the state's purview or whether it's under local purview. So this is a way of helping ourselves advance and deal with that growth at a pace that the state simply can't keep up with.
I appreciate that. I'm going to finish my sentence on that because that was a statement that I was trying to make, that we are
Sorry.
being punished. And I think you said it again in your answer, because of the way the state law is written. Again, I'm going to try to talk to the people of Mecklenburg County and to kind of say we're in this space that we are going to support the 1 cent sales tax to move forward. But I think it's clouded in the history of the past 15 years that has been punishing Mecklenburg County for their vision and investment in self-taxing and the defending of that sales tax for our Blue Line and the Blue Line extension. We're being punished for our investment in keeping people safe on our roads, whether they're in a vehicle or outside a vehicle or on transit. I think people need to understand that we are going to take it upon ourselves to evaluate the efficacy of the 1 cent sales tax because nobody else is going to come to our aid. And I think that's what I'm trying to make clear to you and clear to folks that are listening, is that we didn't get into this by our own volition. We are identifying projects. We are involved in the process. We are taxing our residents and our visitors existing to make what we have today and making the land use decisions. But as we grow, we are going to have to expand our effort on this 1 cent sales tax to not give away our revenue, our transit-oriented development, our opportunity to Gaston County, to Lincoln County, to Union County, to Cabarrus County, to Iredell County for free. We have to have a regional investment that must follow in this to make it successful, because Mecklenburg alone can't manage 2 million people by themselves. And I appreciate that.
And that's part of the reason this is so unique is that all of the 1 cent will be spent in Mecklenburg County.
That's right.
It doesn't go anywhere else.
And the last thing I want to say to turn the mic back over, and I really appreciate the opportunity, Mr. Chair, to take my 3 minutes on this, but we really appreciate you taking upon the request to correct the failures of the MTC by not allowing our Transit Services Advisory Committee a vote on the MTC. That's an important part of this solution moving forward. And I think if you ignore riders as we move forward, it's not going to be an effective solution for what our community wants and needs in the future. I want to thank my fellow commissioners and you for being here as well and listening to me so intently. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Lansdale. Anybody else? Questions, comments, concerns? Gentlemen, thank you for your time. Good luck this evening. All right, 2 things left. We have see you guys. We have several mandatory referrals to go through. We'll do that, followed by the vice chair election. do we have any, say what? And the minutes. All right. Given that, what, one of us, two of us were on this committee when these minutes were originated, can I please have a motion to approve the minutes from July 15th?
Lansdale, motion to approve the minutes.
Second, Wilden.
Motion by Lansdale, second by Wilden. All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, guys.
Seems legit to me.
All right, we have a few mandatory referrals this evening. Hopefully you have all had a chance to go through them. Would anybody like to pull any of these mandatory referrals for any additional question or comment? If not, do we have the language on the screen for the blanket? I don't remember what it was. Here we go. All right, perfect. In that case, I would happily entertain a motion for on these mandatory referrals.
Motion to approve Sealy. The planning committee reviewed mandatory referral reports 25 through 42 or 25-42, 25-43, 25-44 on up to 25-48 on September 16th, 2025, and have no additional comments for the submitting agency.
Winiker, second.
Motion Sealy, second Winiker. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you guys for coming and listening to all this. All right, last but not least, I don't know, I know we kind of sprung this on you, but we have an executive committee meeting on Thursday. If anybody has any issues with us holding this vice chair election tonight, please let me know. Hearing none, and Kathy, correct me if I do this process incorrectly, but do we have any nominations, self-nominations or otherwise for vice chair of the planning committee for this upcoming fiscal year? As a reminder, somebody has to do it.
Not everybody jump in.
Yeah, and just, again, I will volunteer somebody if you don't nominate yourselves.
I'll volunteer myself. I will nominate myself.
Anybody else? All right, we have a nomination for Commissioner Wilden. Does anybody else have any? Do I have to do the whole 3 times and all that, Kathy?
Yeah.
All right, do we have any additional nominations going once? Any additional nominations going twice? No.
He's like, I want to deal with her.
Going 3 times, any additional nominations? All right, hearing none. Commissioner Wilden, you are nominated to be the vice chair of the planning committee. We have to hold a vote on that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any against? Any against? All right, thank you all.
No, you've been to my house.
We have Commissioner Rebecca Wilden as the vice chair of the planning committee. You have the pleasure. You have the pleasure of joining us. What time on Thursday? Oh, but are we meeting early for executive committee? Oh, then the regular meeting starts at 9. All right, we'll see you at 8:30 on Thursday. All right, I think that's it. Kathy, do you have anything else? Any updates from staff tonight? Yes.
I just wanted to congratulate Andrew Blumenthal
Oh, thank you.
on getting married.
Thank you.
That's all.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Glad that's in the record now. All right.
He's
We are-
taken
Yeah, he said
to
yeah.
all of the callers.
There. All right, we're done here, guys. Thank you. Have a great night.
Motion to adjourn approved.